We are at Steamtown National Historic Site in Scranton, Pennsylvania, another national site that we thought we could knock out in a few hours, and we really could have spent all day here.
You'd think we'd know better by now that we never spend just a couple hours somewhere. We usually spend all day, but, well, we thought we'd take our time this morning and get here and maybe just see a couple trains and some exhibits. And, well, it turns out that, yeah, we were sadly mistaken, and we spent at least 4 hours here. We're probably going to spend a little bit more after we shoot this video. And we probably should have gotten here at 9 a.m. when they opened.
It didn't help that today was especially busy, and there were extra activities because apparently it's the 30th anniversary of Railfest, an annual event that happens here that we knew nothing about and just stumbled upon. So we kind of got lucky with that because we got to do extra things like going on a train ride with an extra stop where they did a run by for us to get pictures and videos. So that was awesome. But even without that, there is a ton of stuff to see and do here.
If you just come here on a normal day, there's plenty to see and do because there's the roundhouse that's behind us. There's the trains that are situated out here in the yard. There's a number of different museum components that talk about the history of railroads, the history of the bridges, the history of the trains themselves. And so there's a lot to read and see. So that alone can take you a few hours if you want to actually read and learn stuff. That doesn't include the walking up and climbing into some of the trains where you can see them and exploring the rail yard.
I do think this is a good spot where if you have different members of your family that like different things, it's got something here for them. If you have somebody who really loves museums and wants to read the displays and get in deep into the history, there's plenty of that here. If you have people who just want to run around and look at big trains and climb in and out of them and see some cool technology and learn the history that way, you've got that here too.
I don't think I'm tall enough to work in this train. I like a little bit of all of those things, so this was like perfect place. I love trains. Don't ask me why. I think they're fascinating. I wish we had more of them in the United States where you could travel by train, more like what Europe has. So it was really fun today to learn some of the history, see all the different kinds of trains. I learned something today that I didn't know about, which was how to tell the different type of train based on its wheel configuration. It was in my Junior Ranger book, and so you had to go around and pick out the different trains based on the different types of wheels and number of wheels on them. So I had no idea. Now I will know how to count trains and identify them. Ari mentioned that we got to go on a little train ride, and that's not super special to Railfest. They do offer those train rides on the weekends only, though. So if you're here during the week, you're not going to get that opportunity. But it's just a short, like half-hour train ride, just up and back. But it just gives you the experience of being on a passenger car for a while. So that's really cool. They also offered caboose rides today. Again, I don't know if that was specific to Railfest or not. And they also did some demonstrations of some of the machinery in the roundhouse and machine shop behind us. I think those are specific to Railfest, but maybe they do them other times of the year as well. So we got to see a couple cool things today, but the train ride was $6 per person. It was well worth it just to go up and back and take some pictures and have a fun little ride for the afternoon. So I really enjoyed doing that.
It is neat seeing what they've been able to do at this site. It was abandoned by the railroad, essentially, when it went bankrupt in the 1970s. I think the city of Scranton bought it in 1983. It was just a dilapidated rail yard full of weeds, and the turntable was just a pit. So it was, really kind of an eyesore here. And then the National Park Service got involved. They built it all back up. Some of the roundhouse is original. And then they've rebuilt a big part of it. The turntable is operating again. There's a lot of neat things to see here. To see not just the trains themselves, but sort of the operations of how they used a rail yard, and also you mentioned the machine shop. To me, walking through that, and I realized how sort of noisy and dirty it sort of felt now. And imagine when it was an operating train yard in the late 1800s, what those guys went through here.
Yeah, there's an entire exhibit on that in one of the museum components here that talks about the conditions in the yard and the dangers that the men faced working in and around a rail yard. And so I can only imagine, how dirty and loud that must have been. But
I got the impression that we have a lot of our labor laws and safety laws now because of places like this in the 1800s.
Yeah, any manufacturing type facility, and that's what this would have been considered industrial, I guess. But it was really cool. I'm glad they were able to salvage some of it, because obviously when the railroads went defunct, everybody just kind of abandoned them and around the country, and the the people who did step in to help preserve this understood what they had here. And so today, you know, we're able to teach it to the next generations of the history of trains and the steam trains especially. And so anyways, it's just, I don't know, I really enjoyed Steamtown. It was really kind of cool. It was a fun stop for us.
It was a fun stop. If you're not like us, plan ahead. Plan more time and really dig into it and enjoy it if you get to the Scranton, Pennsylvania area. In the meantime, keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.